The world woke up to a moment of history as Pope Luis Antonio Tagle prepared to address the people for the first time as the new leader of the Catholic Church. The air was thick with anticipation, and St. Peter's Square was filled with thousands of people waiting in silence. The absence of Pope Francis had left a void, and the world was eager to see how his successor would lead in these challenging times. As the first rays of sunlight illuminated the Vatican, there was an undeniable energy in the air. People whispered among themselves, their eyes locked on the grand balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The tension was immense. In homes, churches, and public spaces worldwide, millions tuned in, their hearts pounding in anticipation of what was about to unfold. This was a defining moment not only for the Catholic Church but for all those searching for guidance in a troubled world. Then, the bells rang, a signal that the new pope was about to make his first address. The world held its breath. A figure emerged from the grand balcony and silence swept over the crowd. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, now Pope Tagle, stepped forward with a calm and humble presence. The gravity of the moment was reflected in the solemn expressions of those gathered before him. His deep, wise eyes told the story of a man who had dedicated his life to serving others, a man who understood the weight of his new responsibility. Unlike many past popes, Tagle had always been known for his simplicity and deep connection with people. He had spent years working closely with the poor, advocating for unity and compassion. His journey from the Philippines to the Vatican had been marked by an unwavering commitment to faith and service. And now, standing before the world as the new pope, his presence alone was enough to bring hope. He began to speak, and his voice carried a quiet strength. His words were not filled with grand declarations or political statements. Instead, he spoke of unity, love, and healing. He acknowledged the divisions and struggles that plagued the world, but reminded everyone that faith, kindness, and understanding could serve as powerful forces of change. He urged people to come together, to listen, and to rebuild a world that had been torn apart by conflict and suffering. His message resonated deeply. People in the crowd nodded, tears welling in their eyes. In a time of fear and uncertainty, here was a leader who spoke with sincerity, someone who understood the pain people carried in their hearts. He did not promise miracles, but he promised to walk alongside them, to lead with humility and compassion. His words felt like a warm embrace, a reminder that even in darkness, there was always light. As he continued, he spoke of the need for forgiveness, reconciliation, and peace. He emphasized that the church must be a place of welcome, a refuge for those who felt lost. He called for action, encouraging people to not only pray but to be active participants in spreading kindness and understanding. His words were simple, yet they carried immense power. Social media erupted with reactions. People across the world shared their thoughts, calling his speech a message of hope and a call to unity. News channels described it as a defining moment, a turning point for the Catholic Church. Leaders from different faiths and backgrounds expressed their admiration, acknowledging the importance of his message in today's divided world. As his speech came to an end, a moment of silence filled St. Peter's Square. It was a silence of reflection, of gratitude, of understanding. And then, a deafening cheer erupted. The crowd, filled with people from all walks of life, celebrated the arrival of their new leader. The sense of unity in that moment was palpable. Strangers embraced, tears of hope flowed, and smiles replaced the solemn expressions that had filled the square earlier that day. Pope Tagle took a step back, looking over the sea of people before him. He raised his hands in blessing, and as the sun continued to rise, it seemed to cast a golden glow over the Vatican. A new chapter had begun, not just for the Catholic Church, but for all those who believed in the power of faith, love, and hope. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, disagreements, and obstacles. But in that moment, as Pope Tagle stood before the world, one thing was clear. Hope had been reignited. And for millions across the globe, that hope was enough to move forward together.